We'll do in my Mori Meluka. This is in Chelik Aleph. This is the 41st Mamer. It's the Mamer Vayiheyu Chayei Sara Meya Shana ve'esrim Shana. The Rebbe said this on Shabbos Parshas Chayei Sara, which was Chav Beis Marcheshvan in the year h'tnasى Tafshinun Aleph, and later on they published this Mamer that same. Period on Tuesday, the 25th of Marcheshvan, Shnas Tinose, is when they published this Mamer. And in this Mamer, the Rebbe discusses in from the Zohar and the Kabbalah that each one of these years that mentioned over here in the Parsha, Meya Shana, Esrim Shana, Sheva Shana, they references spheres. They have been brought down. The years are, we say that Chayei Sara, the lived, meaning Sara represents Malchus. And Malchus get the upper level of spheres. So the Meya is either Keser or Asmius Hamoichin. That's it. Esrim is Chochma Ubina, 20. As we'll explain the numbers, Kesser is 10 times 10 is 100, and then we have Chochma Bina always go together. It's therefore it's 20, but both there's only Shana, it's a singular because they're all included, as the Maimer will explain. And then you have Sheva, which is the Midos. So basically, from Kesser, Moichin, and Midos to Malchus, or from Moichin be Etzem to Moichin that is Shayches Lemides to Mides to Malchus. Basically, this is the Hamshocha. And then we say that Shnei Chayei Sara, they're Kulam Shovin L'Teva, which means that after the Hamshocha, that it comes down from all of these levels, which Moichin and the Midas, then later on it becomes L'Toiva, that all these years themselves, meaning the Sfiras, become for the good. The similarity is to the Avodah Sa'odam, because in the person you have also the Koiches Pnimiyim, you also have the Koiches Makifim, so you have, if we talk about the level of Mayo, which would be the level of Rotzen, a Tainuk, Kitzenius, and Pnimius, then you have the intellect and have the emotion and all how the avoida has to take place, as we'll see in the Maimer in all the details. So look and learn inside. P'siyayte d'shmaya, Shabbos Parshas Chayei Sara, Chav Beis Marcheshvan, Hey Tov Nun Shin Aleph, h'tnasى, Sin Tov Shin Nun Aleph. Vayiyu Chayei Sara, Meya Shana ve'esrim Shana ve'sheva Shana. So the pasuk says that Sarah's life was 100 years, 20 years, and 7 years. And then the pasuk repeats and says Shnei Chayei Sara. This was the life of the Chayei Sara. So v'yeduim hadiyukim b'derusha Rabbeinu Nisiyenu. So the yukim, the questions that the Rebbes, our leaders, question over here on this pasuk. Beginning, the yukim, these nuances that the Rebbes ask, starts off all the ways back, Midrushe Rabbeinu Hazokim. It starts with the Maimorim of the Alter Rebbe, and then Ubetoishves Hagoes Ubiurim Ubedrushe Rabbeinu Niseinu Shalachazeh. And the additional, the notes and the explanation in the Maimorim of our Rebbes, our leaders that follow the Alter Rebbe, they also make these diyukim, these nuances from this pasuk. And especially the Rebbe singles out v'gam bedrusha admur marashab nishmos Eiden. Also in the Maimorim of the Rebbe Rashab nishmos Eiden, bal yom ha'holedes the chof marcheshvan, whose birthday is Chaf Marcheshvan. This is Mamer is being said 22nd of Marcheshvan, which is 2 days after the birthday of the Rebbe Rashab. So the Rebbe says also over there. So what the Rebbe is bringing down, the questions, the nuances that the Rebbe's question is all through the Rebbe. So what is the uh, point that they're making here? Shebemispar meyo bemispar esrim nakachona. When he uses the number 100 and the number 20, says meyo shona ve'esrim shona. So he uses shona, not shonim. Loshin yochid. That's in a singular way. Bemispar sheva. But when he talks about the number 7, it says nokat shonim. He says sheva shonim. Sheva shonim. Loshin rabim in a plural. So why is it that by 100 and by the 20 it says shona in a singular way, and by the sheva it says shonim in a plural? Gam, another question that they ask is Mahu Imre Shnei Chayei Sara. Why does he say again the years of Sarah's life? Hare Kvar Nemar, but the pasuk starts off already. Viehyu Chayei Sara. It tells you the life of Sarah. Umefaret HaMispar the Kuf Chav Zayin Shana, and he details the number. He says 127 years. So why does he duplicate and say, well, this is the years of Sarah's life when we're talking about Sarah's life was 127? Gam tzarich lahavin, we also need to understand halimud v'hahira, the lesson, and what's the instruction that we get Mishnei Chayei Sara ba'avodas kol echad v'echad misrael, of the life of Chayei Sara in the service of each and every one of the Jewish people. When we read a story in the Torah, it always has a lesson. It has a instruction for us how we need to serve Hashem, especially when there's something which happened to the foremothers, which have a very special connection to us, even more than any study that we read in the Torah. Kidua shekol inyoni ha-Torah, as known, all aspects of Torah, Gam Sipuri HaTorah, also the stories of Torah, Heim Hoirois L'Kol Echad V'Echad MiYisrael, are lessons for each and every one of the Jewish people. So that's B'chlal Torah, even stories of Torah. It's everything has a lesson that we need to learn. Obefrat Maise Ovis V'Imois, especially when we're talking what happened to the fathers. And a lot of time in the sources it talks about Ovis, but the same thing is true for Imois, because it says Maisa Ovis is Simon Lebonim. So the Rebbe adds, same thing is V'Imois. The Maisa, what took place with the foremothers, with the Imois, with Sarah Rivka Rachel Shem Simon. They're more than just an instruction. They are a sign of the Sinas Kerech Lebonim. They give the strength Lebonim. So what is it to learn from the life of Sarah in the service of Hashem? That's something we were going to explore over here. Base. So it's explained in the Maimorim, Shebeposik Zeh Nichlal Kol Seder HaYishtalshlus. In this pasuk, it's included the whole order of evolution, the way godliness descends from the levels on the spiritual level, starting from the level of Keser, all the way through the spheres, through the Meichin and the Midas, till it comes to Malchus. So that in this pasuk, all of the Ishtalshlus, the Meya Shona, that's the Keser, and then you have the Esrim Shona, that's the Meichin, the Sheva is the Midas, and then Sarah comes down to Malchus. So this includes the whole Steire Shtalshlus, and that is Lamailo, the way it's above in Atzilus, in the worlds. And the Gam B'Nefesh Ha'odam, also in the human soul, you have the level of Tainug and Ratzin, that's sort of the comparable to the level of Keser. And then you have the Koiches Pnimim, then you have the Meichin and the Midas. So this is an equivalent. B'kolach V'Shavei Dosei that the service of a person, a Jewish person, needs to encompass and needs to be the whole proto-inyonim, and all of these details of these matters that we read in the parsha about Sarah, that he has to work with Meya Shana, mit ve'esrim Shana, and v'sheva Shana. So all of the human being, there's all the koiches of the neshama, the makifim and the pnimim, has to be in the service of Hashem. K'may b'Sorah, just like by Sorah. Just like by Sorah, it says, Vihyuhu Chayei Sara, that she brought down to her, Sarah brought down all these levels. In the spiritual sense, same thing is in the human, in with the soul, to bring them all down into the Avodah, to work with all of his parts of his neshama. Obira Inyan, to explain this idea, is the Isa B'Zoyar. We find in the Zoyar that Vihyuhu Chayei Sara Chulu. So we're going to quote the Zoyar now. So the Zoyar says, we have life of Sarah, we have Meya Shana, Klola Dekula. That's the general of all. There's 20, there's 7, but 100 is the generality of everything. Of the 20, of the 7, it's a klal, it's the 100 of everything. Which means basically, as we'll see, in the level of Keser, it's a klal of everything. From Keser, it gets nimshach to the pratim. The pratim, the prat would be, Keser will be the makif, and the pratim are moichin and midos. And this is a klal of the moichin and midos, which means from Keser, it's nimshach into the pratim, into the esrim, and into the sheva. It becomes the klal of all. Kuchabrichu, the skalil masar ilah, that's the level of Kuchabrichu, as included from this high supreme place. It's stima dechol stima, it's hidden of all hidden. That's the madrega of Meya, the level of klal, the level of makif. That would be hidden of all hidden. It's not come down b'pnimis. And b'Meya, still the b'Meya, b'Raza, and this is in the secret, the Meya bircha and b'chol yoma, in the 100 brachas that we say every day. That's the very general rule, and that's the highest level. And that 100 comes down to 100 brachas. The Mamer will later on explain the connection between the 100 brachas and this level of Meya that we say, the level of Asar Ilah, Stima Dechol Stima, this high place, the level of Keser, which brings down, which is the 100 brachas of every day, as the Rebbe will explain, that the purpose of brachas is really the kavanah of creation is to be mamshich, bracha hamshocha, to be mamshich into the world, all in yonim, as godliness, to bring down into the world, and therefore, that's also the inyan of Keser, is to be mamshich from there to bring, as we'll see later on in the Mamer. But this is still quoting just the Zohar. Then the Zohar says further also that v'chein esrim shana, and also esrim shana is also a general. It's not a detailed. It's esrim. Ubegin kach ksiv shana. That's why it says shana over there, because it's not. It's an all-inclusive. It's a more general. It's not a detailed. That's why it says shana, which is raza de yichuda. That's the secret, that it is of union, that it's together. The loy is parish machshava v'yuvlo la'almin. That has not been articulated. It's still in a general way, because even in the level of moichin, it's not yet been articulated in action, like in midos. So the machshava, that this thought of the of Chokhmah being at the level of Esidim, uh, has not been articulated. The thought, Viyuvlo la'almin, and the sound to the world, it has not yet, it doesn't, it remains in a level of yichud, it not articulated, it's still united in a sense that it's not shonim, it still has that yichud, that oneness that is there. But then we come to Sheven Shonim. This is all the Zohar. Elaine is parasham v'nafka miklolo. They are been articulated and they have gone out from the klal. They have become specifics, and they come b'dina v'rachmim, judgment. You have two sides. You have chesed and gevura. Those are the midos, the seven midos, the sheva. It's b'dina v'rachmim, in judgment and compassion. Bekamo sitrin v'orchin, in many sides and roads that you go down in. It's been articulated, it's in practical, there is different side, it's already his chalkus here, it's not the yichud. And that's why it says shonim and not shona. V'kulu ikron chayim chulu, they're all called chayim. So what does it mean? We just try to explain it a little bit. Well, let's see. The Mamer is going to continue explaining what the different parts, why the level of keser is considered yichud, not yet articulated, and it's shona. Same thing is moichin. And then you have the midos, which is actually to the right and the left. It has din and rachamim in very specific, and that's why it's shona. The idea is here, Shemeya Shana Koi ala Keser. 100 years refers to Keser. What's the connection? Ki Keser Koilel Kol Hayud Sfiris. Keser includes all the 10 Sfiris. So you have the 10 Sfiris of Atzilus, they are all separate 10 Sfiris. But in Keser includes them. That's the cloud, includes all. Now, 10 spheres, each one has 10, 10 times 10. 10 times 10 is 100. So Keser includes all 10 spheres, as the 10 spheres are included, each one of 10. So Keser is 100, and that's the cloud. So how is it shinyone b'nefesh ha'adam hu? So what is this idea of keser in the soul of man? Hurotzen. That is the level of rotzen. The two levels. Talking about keser b'chlal. Keser has pnimius ha'keser and chitzonis ha'keser. Chitzonis ha'keser is arich. Pnimius ha'keser is atik. But then we call it all keser. So also in the neshama, in the nefesh ha'adam, we have level of rotzen, which is chitzonius hakeser. That's the externality of keser. And then you have the tainuk, and you have tainuk, delight is primis hakeser. So the rotzen of a person and the tainuk of a person are the two levels of keser, chitzonius hakeser and primis hakeser. And that's the investment that we're talking about when we're saying that there needs to be Meya Shana, that we're learning from Sarah, that you have to invest your pnimius and chitzonis hakeser, the Meya Shana. And then Esrim Shana koi al Chochma Ubina. And Esrim Shana, that refers to Chochma Ubina. Shekol echad mehem kolu meyud. Each one is included of 10. So we know Chochma, Bina, and Atzilus. Each one has 10, so it's 20. Or counterpart in Nefesh Adam is Chochma, Bina, the Moichin of the person who has Chochma, Bina. That is Bechinas HaMoichin. That's the level of Moichin. Now, here, here the Rebbe takes the interpretation that Meya goes on Keser. The Rebbe brings down now in the bracket that there's in other Maimorim that the Meya is also the Moichin. And the Rebbe says within Moichin, if we say that, we're not talking about Keser then, according to those Maimorim. In those Maimorim, we're talking about the Meya, it's talking about also Chochmo Bina. But within Chochmo Bina, there is two parts. There's Chochmo Bina, the way it is be Etzem, which is a klal, because it's not yet been articulated into the number of 20, as that I will bring down. So, and the Rebbe will say that there is the two. The Meya Shona is Moichin Be'etzem, and then the Esrim Shona would be Moichin as it shaykhs to Midos, and then Midos himself. The Rebbe says the brackets like this. V'kama Drushi Mevuer, in many Maimorim, it's explained, Shegam Meya Shona hu b'chinas ha-Moichin, that also Meya Shona is the level of Moichin, not the level of Keser, but the level of Moichin. Because it's known sheyichidis, when we talk about single numbers, you have single numbers, then you have tens, and then you have hundreds. So over there, it's known that the single numbers are b'malchus. Asirius, we talk 10 numbers, they are b'zoh. Umeyes ba'avei, that's Chochmo Bina. Hundreds are Rabbi Chaim Bina. Ve'alofim b'keser. And 1,000 is b'keser. So according to that cheshbon, keser is actually 1,000. But if it's hundreds, it's not keser, that's an avot. So how do we now interpret Meya be'esrim b'sheva? V'apizeh yesh loimar. So based on this, we can say Shemeya Shono hu Moichin be'etzem. That is the essence of Moichin. And the Esrim Shono hu Moichin hashayochim lahamidis. Esrim is Moichin as connected to the midis. How does this fit? That we're saying that the Asirius is bizarre. Here we're saying that it's in Moichin, but it's Moichin HaSheyachin Lemidos Asirius Bizah. So the level of Moichin, which is fit and is connected to the Midos, will also be as the number 20, because when it says that 20 is B'midos, because it's Take Moichin, but it's Moichin HaSheyachin Lemidos, and that's why it's also part of Asirius the midos, and this is the moichin hashayochin lamidos. So Meya is the moichin be'etzem, Esrim is the moichin hashayochin lamidos. And l'chayra l'fizeh, the Rebbe doesn't say it, but l'chayra l'fizeh, this cheshbon. So when we say that Yechidus is in Malchus, so we should say that, and when it says so Sheva is l'chayra the 7 as the shaykhs to Malchus, similar like over here. In any event, ub'shneihem nemar shona, but by both, by the level of Meya and by the level of Esrim, it says shona, Meya shona ve'esrim shona loshen yachid. So we're going back to Taich the way we're saying Meya is Keser, but Keser, Meya, in the level of Meya, Klulim Kol HaSfiris Yachad. All the Sfiris are inclusive, so there is therefore not so much separation, so it's Shana. Gam Chochmo Bina Esrim, also Chochmo Bina, which is Esrim, Heim Trein Lorein Lemis Parshim. Chochmo Bina are considered like two friends that never separate. So therefore, Chachma Bina are inclusive, are together. And because of that, they're all included together. They're shona. They're not shonim. The Sheva shonim koi al Sheva hamidas, and the 7 goes 7 midas. Since the midas are in a way of separation. Ad lekavim afochim, to the extent that they are opposite lines. The chesed ugvura, we have chesed ugvura, din v'rachmi, judgment and compassion, which are other lines. Is nemer bahem sheva shonim. That's what it says, sheva shonim loshen rab. Then umoisef u'misayim shnei Chayei Sara. So he adds and he concludes, this is the life of Sarah. Why does he say it again? That through when a person is complete with the service of the Meya Shana, the Esrim Shana, the Sheva Shanim, Boim Ledarga Nailis Yesher Shelemayla Meis Chalkus, we come to a higher level that is higher than his Chalkus. Shalochein Lo Niskar Baza Mispar. That's why it says Shnei Chayei Sara. There's no number here. It's all inclusive because it is a number. It's not a number. It's higher than number. Al derech lifnei echad ma'at sofer, similar to the saying that what comes before one, there's nothing to count because it's higher than counting. So this is in Sefer Yetziros, and the Rebbe brings down in the note that Lifnei Aleph Ma'ata Sefer Hu B'chinas Atik, and then when it shines in Arich, then it is called Meya Shana. But when Atik is in its place, then it's higher from it's called Shnei Chayei Sara, as the Rebbe spoke in a previous Mamer, as we have actually also learned earlier. But the bottom line is that through working and bringing down the level of Keser, Rotzen, and Tainug, the level of the intellect in Avodas Hashem, it was Mamshech by Sora into the midas in which there is Ischalkus, from the Shona to the Shonim to the level of Ischalkus, then you reach Shnei Chayei Sara, a level of beyond Ischalkus. So, Gimel. So the Rebbe is going to ask now, it seems like according to this, once you come to Shnei Chayei Sara, when you complete the Avodah with all the details as mentioned, you'll reach to the level of Atik, as we just quoted from the Rebbe's note, a higher level than these Madreges. But the Rebbe says Shnei Chayei Sara is also not something separate from the previous years, but that those years themselves become Shnei Chayei Sara. Let's look inside. So how do we explain the Shnei Chayei Sara? Let's look inside. Gimel. Tzorich lahavin. We need to understand the lepirush zeh, this interpretation, Shnei Chayei Sara hu inyan b'fnei atzmai. When we say Shnei Chayei Sara is in its own inyan, the life shalamayla megimul hachalukis meya shana ve'esrim shana ve'sheva shana. It is above than these three categories, the three groups of 100 years and 20 years and sheva shana, keser, moichen and midas. This is beyond. But the simple meaning of the pasuk is Shnei Chayei Sara heim akuf chav zayim shonam atzmo. that these 127 years are the Chayei Sara, not something higher, different. It's not a matter on its own, which is higher than the 127. Okay, Mudgesh bepirush Rashi. This is emphasized in Rashi's commentary. Shnei Chayei Sara zokt Rashi kulam shovim l'toiva. They are all equal for good. So inyan, all of them were good. So inyan the shovim l'toiva, that we're saying that they were all good. We're talking about those years. The shovim l'maylo mi'yischalkus, that they're all equal doesn't make a difference. The goodness went through each and every one of those years, of the 20 years, of the 7 years, the 100 years. Within these three categories, it was all l'taiva. They were all equally good, all of them. Not that we're saying, not that there was a higher level. Those 100 years were equally good. Those 20 years were equally good. Those 7 years were equally good. Not that they reached a higher level. So, Rebbe wants to explain that it's actually within those madreges, within Keser, within Chochma Bina, within Midos, it becomes a Shovim L'Toiva, not just that you get a higher madrege, but it actually impacts them, that they too get elevated, as we'll see. But the Rebbe has another question, the Rebbe says. Also, so now it comes out 100 is the highest level, 20 is the second level, that's Keser, that's Moichin, and then 7 is Midos. So the fact that we say that Baskuf ki Baschof, we're saying that 100 was like 20, it seems that there's an advantage in the Chof, or there's an advantage in the Zayin. But over here we're saying the Meya is the advantage, because that's Kesed, is the highest level. Gam tzorich lahavin. Mashakosu bepirush Rashi, you have to understand what Rashi says. Baskuf ki Baschof. She was 100, she was like 20. So we're emphasizing there's a mile and 20. The same thing we're saying, Ubaschov. And when she was 20, she was Kibas Zayin. She was like 7. Shemizem Mashma. That 20 was like 7. Sheyesh Ilu Bezayin Legabe Chof. That there is an advantage in 7 relative to 20. Because we're saying Baschov Kibas Zayin, that she was 20, she was like 7. There's an advantage in 7. And we're saying, even when she was 20, she was like 7. And the same thing is an advantage of B'chof L'gabe Kuf. And 20 has an advantage over 100, because we're saying Bas Kuf Ki Bas Chof. Afal Pi, although Keser, which is Kuf, Hulamayla Mehamoichin, which is Chof. Keser is higher than Moichin. Umoichin Heim Lamayla Memidis, and Moichin is higher than Midah, which is Zion. So we're saying, so how come we're talking about a Maila in Zion, that the Chof is like the Zion, and a Maila in Chof when Kuf is the highest Maila? Okay, so now the Rebbe is going to bring it down, that the connection to the idea of the Meya Brachas, that the Zayar says that the 100 is the secret of the Meya Brachas. Viyu and Dalet. Viyu and Behagdim Hamevur become Drushim. Hemshech Divrei HaZoyar. We'll understand in what's explained in many of the Memorim, the continuation of the words of the Zayar. Meya Shana is Klola the Kola. That's the general of everything. And it says, Shemeya Shana hu rozo de meya birchol mechol yom. This 100 year, which is the general, that's the secret of the 100 brachas that we do every day. We have to make every day, one is obligated to say 100 brachas. Shechayiv Adam levorich me'abrachas b'chol yom. Every person is obligated to make 100 brachas, to bless 100 brachas every day. Kivi shalomdu Chazal, as our sages of blessed memories have learned this ma'aposik, from the verse it says, Va'ato Yisrael mo havaye lekecha shoyel me'imach. So what does Moshe Rabbeinu saying? What is Hashem asking of you? So the word ma means what? What is Hashem? So the Gemara says, Al tikra ma elameya. Don't pronounce it as ma, what elameya. Ato Yisrael meya Hashem elakecha. Hashem asks of you 100. So what did the Mamorim explain this Zohar of it? Kudas abir bazeh, and the point of the explanation here is Shemeyo Shono Hugam Haklal the Esrim Shono the Sheva Shonim. It's Klolo de Kulo. When we say 100 years, 100 is the generality of also the 20 and the 7 years. Klolo de Kulo, not only of the 7, not only 20, it's of the 27. It's in a level from the general, from Keser, it's nimshach specifically into Moichin and into Midas. So that becomes the klal of the Esrim Shon and the Shevin, Klol. So he says, this is being the klal of a prat is an additional point of being a klal by itself. The Rebbe articulates now, explains. The noise of lozeh shekol meya hadargis. In addition to this, that all of these 100 dargis, which is keser, is meya, as we said, eser pamim eser, the way they are in keser. Eser sfiris shekol echad mehem klulum eser shebi keser. Hem klal echad, they are one generality, shelemailo mischalkus, that they are beyond separation. It's all together. It's a meyoshono. All the details are not detailed. They're higher than details. And this would make it a greater generality. Is lamailo gamaklal, the esrim shono, which is even higher than the klal. If you want to measure which is a bigger klal, the bigger klal is keser, is the meya, because it is a greater, a more inclusive, and a more general, because it has 100 in it included, versus the klal of esrim shana, which only has 20. Sheyesh but shtei dargis, which has 2 dargis chokhmah ubina. So that's a klal of 2 dargis. And this is a klal of 100 levels, higher level. While it's taka 2, but it's not totally 2 because they're always together, so loy misparshim. But it's still 20 is not as a inclusive as the meya. So on top of that, the 100 is not just a bigger klal, but it becomes the klal. It is the klal of the 20, klal of the meich, and the klal of the midas. Ukama klal the chol gimel chalukis. He's also the klal of all these 3 categories. Gam the esrim shana v'sheva shanim, also of the 20 and the 7 years, because it's the klal. Because from the meya shana, it's nimshach into the prat, which would be the esrim shana, which would be in the meichin and in the midas. So that's the klal of those pratim. K'mevur ba'adrushim, as explained in the Maimorim, shemeya shana klolo de kulo nimshach umislabesh b'haprotim de esrim shana, that this general of everything extend and dresses up in the details of esrim shoni, which is moichin, and v'sheva shonim, which is midos. The Sheva Shonim, which is midos. V'yesh loymar, and now the Rebbe wants to add, because before, this is the way we're saying that it's in Keser, and we're saying that Keser is the klal, and then Chochma Bina are protim of this klal, and the Sheva Shonim. But we also brought down before in the Mamer that there is the other interpretation that Meya goes on the Moichin Be'etzem, and then the Shav and the Esrim is the Moichin Hashayochim La'amidas. Over there too, the Rebbe adds, we can say the same idea that this Moichin Be'etzem become the klal from which it's nimshach into the prat. Yesh loymar shezeh shemeya hu gam haklal be'esrim v'sheva. When we're saying that meya is the generality, the klal of esrim and sheva, it's not just according to the explanation that meya represents keser. The kivon shekeser hu makif. Over there, it's easier to understand because keser is makif. Harehu haklal b'chol eser sfiris. So that's why it's the generality of all the eser sfiris, because he's makif them, and they're nimshach from them into the pnimi. So he's the klal of all the eser sfiris. So we can understand that easier when we say that meya is keser. But elagam lahabir shemeyahu etzem hamoichin. But even according to the explanation that meya is the essence of the moichin ve'etzem. So the av she'moichin heim koiches pnimim, even though moichin is koiches pnimim, so it's not makif, so it doesn't seem to be connected to all the pnimim. It's its own koyach. It's a koyach pnimi, but it's distinct and it's not a klal of what comes from it. Yesh loymar, we can still say, the Rebbe says, she'etzem hamoichin hugam haklal da'adarga shel mata mimenu, that the essence of moichin is still the general of the levels, the steps that are below him. Shalochein, because of its being in a level of a klal, etzem hamoichin nimshach umislabish achkach. That's why the etzem hamoichin can extend and later on dress up by moichin hashayochim alamidus into the moichin that is shaykh to the midus, and then shenachlokim b'chlolus l'beis kavim, and over there in the moichin that are connected to the midus, which are generally divided into two kavim, we call them the esrim shono. So in the moichin, there's moichin hashayochim l'midus, which have the two kavim, the esrim, which is chiyuv u'shlila else of loisasa. So until that from the moichin be'etzem comes down into the midas. So be'emesin, even there too is from that generality, it comes down into the level of midas and to the level of moichin shayachim, into the midas in which the Aveda is. So we do have also the klal impacting and coming down as a klal of that to impact the protim. It's not just a standalone, a bigger klal. That's the point the Rebbe is making here, but it's a klal which is impacts and gives the protim take from that klal, whether we're learning it in the level of keser or we're learning it in the moichin be'etzem. And now the Rebbe is going to go away and take us to the connection to the Meya Brachas as continue now in Oisei. Oisei. Vi'yuro inyan de Meya shana klola de kulo shehu razo de Meya Brachas shebachol yom. To explain the idea from the Zohar, that the 100th year, where it says Meya shana, that's the general of all, which is the secret, the rosa of the 100 brachas in every day. Yuvon al pi hamavur b'kama droshim will understand this based on what's explained in many of the Maimorim. She'inyan habrachas hu klolus ha'avodah. That the idea of brachas is the general service of Hashem. Generally, is brachas. Brachas is the general service of Hashem. Hine, why bracha is to be mamshich first on godliness on oneself, and then from oneself into the world. Dine bracha hu meloshen hamshacha. Bracha comes from the language of drawing down. V'hapirush de baruch ato havaya. What does it mean? Baruch ato havaya is hu lahamshich shem havaya. Baruch ato havaya, to draw down the name of havaya. Sheyiyeh baruch v'nimshach begilu lamato, that it should be drawn down and extended openly below. You should bring down havaya lamato. That's a bracha. Baruch havaya. They say that hamshachahu. What is the order of the hamshacha? Shetchila nimshach shem havaya b'nefesh ha'odam. It goes through the person, and through the person it goes into the world. Because the bracha says, Baruch ato Hashem Elokeinu. Hashem Elokeinu. First, we have to make that Hashem should be Elokeinu, should be unified, become our power, our energy, that we are energized and powered by Hashem. That we should make it feel, we should sense that Havaya is Elokeinu. So first we have Nimshach Shem Havaya B'Nefesh Ha'odam Havaya Elokeinu. Liya is Gilu Yoyin Sof B'Nefesh Kol Yisrael, so that the revelation of the Yoyin Sof, the Havaya, should be in every Jewish soul. Shetischa Zekamun As Havaya B'Libam B'Gilui, that the trust and belief in Hashem will be strengthened in their heart, B'Gilui, until they becomes our God. The Eibishter becomes, he's the God of the world, but he becomes Elokeinu, becomes our God, Koichenu v'chayusenu, our strength, our power, and our energy. That's the first step of the bracha, is Elokeinu. And then, after extending and being revealed by the Yidden, nimshach al yodam hagilu gam lamato liyis melech ha'olam. So then through the Yid, it also extends, and the revelation also lower, to become melech ha'olam. Baruch ato Hashem Elokeinu, then melech ha'olam. V'yesh lahoisiv, can add, it's not only in the language of Elokeinu melech ha'olam, but also in what we're making the bracha for. Everything that we make the bracha for is associated to bringing it down lamato, into the gashmis, into the world. That's the idea of the bracha. V'yesh lahoisiv shaham shocha v'agilu lamato, when we draw it down and reveal below, mudgoshim gam b'toichan habrachos, it's also emphasized in the contents of the brachas. What the brachas are about. K'noisef lekach, because in addition to the fact shereiv habrachos kshurim im inyoni ha'olam, most brachas are tied to matters of the world, which means you make a bracha for food, you make a bracha for things. Brachas hashachar, David is giving you, everything is involved with inyoni ha'olam. But even when we make a bracha for mitzvahs, but mitzvahs are also connected to world. Sharafilu brichas ha-mitzvahs kshurim im inyoni ha'olam, even brachas that we do for mitzvahs are also tied with worldly matters. Shobehem mekayim ha-mitzvahs, which with the worldly matters with which we fulfill the mitzvahs. Tzitzis b'tzemer gashmis, you use physical wool to perform, to observe the mitzvah of tzitzis. Utfilin, you observe a klaf gashmi with physical parchment. Kulu. So it's all connected to worldly matters. That's what the bracha is about. But the brachas are the brachas atzmom. The brachas themselves, not only is the mitzvah, but the brachas is for Eimal in Yonah Olam. They are for directly connected with matters of the world. The morning blessings have been instituted on the order of the world and as it conducts itself. The fact that which the created beings benefit every day. They should bless the Eibishter the very first time that they benefit this hanoah every day. So what are we making the Birchas HaShachar? For the new hanoahs from matters of the world. All the guys, all the things that we need, all the benefits that we benefit, that we have hanoah, we're making a bracha. So the idea of the brachas is for our physical hanoah. Similarly is the blessings that we make for when we ask Hashem for our physical needs. To heal the sick, in the Amida, we make these brachas. It's also for physical thing, for healing sick physically, blessing the years of physical years. And almost so much more so is Birchas Haneni, when we make a bracha that we benefit. So that we make before eating and drinking. Since once through the bracha, now we make then the thing you can eat and drink it. Before the bracha, we don't have it. Stealing, it belongs to the Eibishter. We don't have to right to eat it. It's the bracha. So the brachas are physical for the physical things. As the sages tell us, anybody who benefits from this world without making a bracha is as if he would be benefiting from Kodesh Shemayim. You're not allowed to benefit of Kodesh Shemayim. Person has no right, but when you make the bracha, it belongs to the Eibishter, so it belongs, it's Kodesh to Hashem. And only Lacha Bracha Hashem Orsum Loya. And after the bracha, then it becomes the Bnei Odom. And the Rebbe explains here very interesting. What happens when you make a bracha? It's not the pshat. Now it's no longer Kodesh Shemayim, and therefore you can benefit. No. The Rebbe says, once you make a bracha, you become permitted to take part of Kodesh Shemayim. As Hainu Shepula Sabracha, what does the bracha? It doesn't take away from Lashem Horad Sumuloye, that is the Eibishter's. It is not to negate, God forbid, the advantage of Kosher Shemayim. You want to eat something, you're saying Lashem Horad Sumuloye, it's Kosher Shemayim. So now you're going to make a bracha. Oh, it's not Kosher Shemayim. No, Elo sheKosher Shemayim nasu shaloi. But that you get ownership of the Kosher Shemayim. You're eating and drinking in the level of Kosher Shemayim. The bracha allows you to be at the level to eat Kosher Shemayim. Kivon shal yidei habracha nasis habirur v'hazichuch da'advorim hagashmim. Through the bracha, that brings about the sorting out and the refinement of the physical matters. And through bringing down the Gilui of Avaya Melech HaOlam in the items, in the food, that you accomplish with the bracha, then your eating and drinking is the level of Kodesh Shemayim. So hapirush b'divrei hazoyar, and this is the interpretation in the words of the Zohar. Meya shono klolo de koilo berozo de meya berchoy mechol yom. That the meya shono, the level of keser, which is the klolo de koilo, is in the secret of the 100 brachas every day. Ka'inyan the meya brachas. Who? What is the idea of the 100 brachas? Who klolus kol ha'avoida lahamshich lakus lamata. What does 100 brachas do? As we just said, the brachas is the general avoida, that is to be mamshich all the brachas. Gadlan is below. And v'zeu inyan the meyashana klolo de kol. This is also the idea that the meyashana is the general of all. Koleles ha'avoida lahamshich lakus lamata. It's the general rule. That's the general avoida to bring down. It's the general idea of bringing down a lakus lamata, which takes place later on through the details, through the moichin and midas. Aldeya slap shochavi slapshus, through extending and dressing up b'ham moichin hashayochem al midas, in the moichin hashayochem, in the moichin hashayochem al midas, whether it's from keser or it's from moichin be'etzem, but it comes down into the midas esrim shana. Till the level of Sheva Shonim, which is the building, which is Shal Yodim Nivra Olam, to bring down godliness all the ways into the Shivas Yimei Abinya, from Keser or from Moichin Be'etzem into Moichin Hashayachim Lamidis, into Midas. And with them is the main avodah is manazeh. So keser is the klolus, the koila of being mamshich into the world, into moichin and midis, into the avodah, which is the idea of a brachas, is to be mamshich into the world. So now the Rebbe says it actually is like a boomerang. It goes back through the hamshocha into the midos and into malchus. It gets a higher level. Hine alidei hahamshocha vayislapshus de meyashono klolo de kulo behamoichin hashayochem el midos esrim shono, through extending and dressing up the meyashona, the level of keser klolo de kulo. Into moichin that shachmid, which is esrim shona, ubahamidas shavashonim adla avoida b'maisa b'poil, to extend not just in the midas but in the actual doing. So then there is a azay nasen noisef al bidur v'zichuch hamata. So then, in addition to the fact that we're sorting out and refining the mata through this hamshocha, it becomes gam ilu godel yosef b'bchinas meyashono klolo dekulo. There's actually a great advantage in the level of meyashono, which is the klolo dekulo. Ki yedua, as it's known, shal yidei hayirida da elyin la shpia la tachten, through the fact that the higher level descends to give to the tachten, mekabel gam ha'elyen mailas ha'tachten. So the elyen receives also the advantage of the tachten. So you're going down to give the tachten, but through the hashpa you get the advantage of the tachten. Shalochein. That's why we find kol seder ishtalshlus hu be'ofen. The notes, the beginning is tied to the end. What is it tied? Meaning it gets from the end also. The upper one needs to get from the tacht. That's one interpretation. Why the higher, why Keser will get from Malchus, because when Keser is Mamshich or Moichin are Mamshich or Midas are Mamshich, they get, because they go down, they get from the advantage which is in the Tachten. That is through their Hashpah. That's one idea. But then there's a whole other idea that through giving into the Tachten, it's fulfilling the purpose of the Kavanah of Nisava Kodesh Baruch Hu, to bring down Atzmus into the world. And more than this, more than just because you're Mamshich, so you get also the advantage of the lower level, the notes, Tchilosim B'Seifon, Kivon Sham Shochel Lamato Mipnei Shenisava Kodesh Baruch Hu, Liyas Lo Yizbarach Dir B'Tachtonim. Since the reason why it's coming down below is because this is the desire of Hashem. He wants a dir b'tachtonim. Hare al yidei ha'hamshocha lemato. So when you're coming down lemato, nishlemes kavonos ha'atzmus, you complete the intention of atzmus shelamayla mekol Torah v'geder, which is beyond any description, any definition. Shalochein mailo mato, and therefore higher and lower, bligvul ugvul, only the shovin mamish are equal, because you're bringing down atzmus. So therefore, you're bringing down a level where there is no differences anymore between the upper and the lower levels, because there's no upper and lower. And that comes down when you fulfill the kavanah. And that's why it turns out that everything becomes on a higher level, the Meyashona and the Shevet. There's no more differences, because now you get from Atzmus because you're fulfilling the Kavonas Atzmus. What's the difference between the two Efanim? Whether it's because the alien is getting the mato, the advantage of the mato, or because your Mamshich Atzmus, which is beyond any limitation. The first way, Yesh Chiluk Bein Elyon L'Tachten. There's a difference in Avodah Sa'odam, whether you're doing with the Elyon Avodah Binyan Kedusha, whether your service is in holy matters, L'Tachten Avodah Binyan Ha'olam, or the Tachten which is worldly matters. V'Avodah Lamato Hu Yirish Al Yerida. And then the work that we're doing below is a descent. There's still a chilik between Elyon and Tachten, so it is a descent, but it's a descent, and you get the Maila from the descent. It's an advantage of an aliyah, because you get the note from B'tchilos, you get from the Maila Tachten, you get the Maila from the Yerida, which you get the aliyah from the Yerida. But in the second way, Kivan Shekol in Yonei, since all what you care about is fulfilling the wishes, the desire, the wish of the Eibishter. He wants a dir b'tachtonim. He wants his place in the lower place. So, because the intent of atzmus to have the dira, ein chiluk bein elyon avoda binyan kedusha l'tachten avoda binyan ha'olam. There's no difference between upper in matters of working in kedusha or tachten avoda binyan ha'olam. Ubemeila avoda lamata ein initial yirida. So working lamata is not a descent. Kivon shenirgash bo hanakuda haklolis. Since you feel the general point, klolo dekola, which is the general everything. Shebechol inyone ha'avoda b'shove mamish kamonas atzma. In any matter, in all matters of service, everything is equal. The intent of atzmas, there is no difference. So whether you're working kedusha, you're working yonah olam, doesn't make a difference, because this is the intent of the atzmas. V'zeu gam roza the meya brachas b'chol yom. And this is also the secret of the 100 brachas that we say every day, Kfish Lomdu Chazal. As our sages, blessed memory, learned it, Mashenemar, Mo Hashem Elokecha Shoyel Meimach, Atikra Mo Elomeya. They learned it from that pasuk. So we have the 100 Kimavur Badrushim. So this is also connects to the word Meya. Shemeya Huma B'Toisus Aleph. That Meya is the word Ma wa Aleph. Ma hu inyan habitl. Ma is bitl. V'nachnu mo. When Moshe Rabbeinu and Aaron said, "What are we?" This level of bitl. V'idei habitl de Ma mamshichim Aleph through the bitl of Aleph, mamshich the Aleph, which is b'chinas hakeser Meya. So the Altikra Ma Elomeya sheyumshich begilu lemato aidei habrachas. So through the brachas, Altikra Ma Elomeya, you get the level of the Aleph, you get the level of Keser to be Mamshich, the Meya, through the brachas. The Kivon Shabaydosi Mitzad Abitl V'Kobolos Oil, since you're serving Mitzad the level of Ma, you're serving the Eber says Kabbalas Oil, Shabam is Galat Seman Neshama, in which the essence Shama is revealed in the level of humility, in the level of Bitl. Then that becomes his entire desire is to fulfill the wishes and the wants of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's the general theme of Kavonos HaAtzmos, the tense of Atzmos. So the Rebbe says the same thing is like the Rebbe explained, that we have the second way to serve the Eibishter with level of bittel, and this brings down the kavonas ha'atzmos to the betachtonim, not to serve for being hamshachas or for any zichuch, because that's going to be a yirida in order for an aliyah, but you're doing it because of this is the ratzon ha'atzmos, kavana ha'atzmos. That's also the ma that brings the meya, that through the level of bittel we have the aleph. And this is going to explain how what we said before, yesh levayer. Yesh levayer, the Rebbe explains, Masha Kosuv, Viehyu Chayei Sara. Meya Shana, V'esim Shana, V'sheva Shana, and then it says Shnei Chayei Sara. Shnei Chayei Sara, it's not its independent own matter, which is higher than three categories: they are the 127 years themselves. Those are all kulam shavim l'toiva, the 127 years. Because what happens is that after the Yerida, they themselves get to the higher level. In the beginning of the pasuk, it explains the advantage of Nasa b'meya shana, but meya shana gets al yidei hamshacha l'mayla. That word hamshacha l'mata, you get through the bring down l'mata. So inyan the baskuf ki baschov. That baskuf can get from the baschov by being nimshach. But there is an advantage of the soifam, and the notes Chilosum gets the advantage. That in 100 you get the ilu of 20, and in 20 you get the advantage of Sheba. Then the pasuk adds Shnei Chayei Sara. Shekol sugei ha'avoda. The Meya Shana, which is Keser, Esim Shana Moichin, V'sheva Shana Midas, Hem Shavim L'Teva. So what does that explain? Shekol in Yonam Hu Lahashlim Kavonas Ha'atzmus. What happens at the end, all your avodah is not for any benefit to get the benefit of the chof of the Zayin, but it's all, the avodah is to fulfill the intent of Atzmus. shehi b'chol inyon aveda b'shava. And that's equal whether you're working with your midas, you're working with your moichin, working with your ratzin. It's all equal. And therefore, that is changes around that everything is shavim l'tova. It's all fused with the desire of atzmus, of doing, making a dir betachtonim. V'yesh lahoisi babir the kulom shavim l'tova. We can explain when it says all equal l'tova. Shetova remez al etzem umokar hatoiv. Kulom shavim l'tova means it hints that it's equal to the level of good essence of good. B'teva toiv lahetiv, and the nature of good is to do good. K'fi shenimshach u'menizgale v'nishmosei shel kol echad v'echad misrael, as it extends and revealed in the neshama. They're all l'toiva of the neshama. The neshama is good. Shehi chelik al kamil mal mamish, which is a part of godliness. Chelik mina etzem. That's the toiva, chelik of the toiva of the etzem of the neshama. That's the toiva we all have. Shayodei tevsim ba etzem. Through that we actually grab hold of etzem. Bekasher ha'avodah mitzad etzem haneshama. So when the avodah is from the essence of the neshama, shezo u'yin bittul v'kabbalah soil, which is the level of subjugation, accepting the yoke. That's level of bittul. Azai kol inyone avodah b'shava, then all matters of the moichid midas v'ashtavusi l'toiva. It's all for the good, the good, the good. That's all the neshama. Shekol inyone avodah chadurim b'hanakuda haklolis. That all matters of service are penetrated with the general theme, the amshachas v'gilu etzem atev lamata, to bring down and reveal the essence of good below, which is the neshama, which is godliness, which is toifis b'miktzosei, which is the toiv, shovin l'toiva, to bring down the toiva, the liis leis barach dir betachtonim, to be a dwelling place. That's the shovin l'toiva the Rebbe adds to be mamshich, that toiva, that etzem haneshama, and through that, the level of bittul kabbalah soil, to do all the work as necessary to bring down the toiva into this world b'tachtonim. Ches b'yirotzen shekivan should be yemenu elo ela. Since these days nishlamu kol ma'aseinu v'avedesenu, our work, our labor, service of Hashem has already been completed. The whole protein yonim in all details. The meya shonim, the esrim shonim, the sheva shonim in all details. In a way, not only we serve, but like snecha is everything equal to toiva, with the bittul, with the kabbalah soil, everything. But kidivrei kivet kedushas mericham admur nesiderenu, as the words of my father-in-law, the Rebbe, the leader of our generation, shekvar tzichtzahu es hakaftorim, that they've already polished the buttons. And for greeting Mashiach, I have the buttons polished. Everything has already been done. We're standing ready to greet Mashiach Tzidkenu. Befrat, even after that, already when the Rebbe announced that, Avru Oida Sirius Shonim, there's many tens of years have already passed. Shabem Tzoku B'nai Yisrael, the Yidden were crying out Ad Mosai. So this also needs a limit. How much we have to cry out. So may there come immediately now the true and complete redemption through Mashiach Tzidkenu. And then Mashiach's coming, the Toldos Yitzchok. This is Parshas Chayei Sara, and they're going to be reading a mincha, the Yitzchok Eila Toldos Yitzchok. K'fi shemaschilim likrei b'Torah b'mincha, as we begin to read in the Torah b'mincha. K'mamer Azal, as our sages tell us, Shal Osid Lovei Yomru Yitzchok Davke K'at Avinu, we will say to Yitzchok, you are our father. Kivon shehatainug v'hatzchoik yitzchok shenase al yidei masenu v'avedesenu kol meshach zman hagolus. Since the delight and the joy that we have accomplished through our service and works, the duration of Golus, that will be revealed in the future to come. That as we say, then our mouth will be full with laughter, with real tainug, the accumulation of all the work that we did. So then this 127 years by finale is even in a greater way. Hey ha'inyan de meya shana, whether it's the idea of the 100 years, which is meya brachas, 100 brachas. Hey ha'inyan the chav zayin shana, whether it's chav zayin shana, sharem is gam l'chav zayin oisius ha'torah, together with the 5 extra letters. You have 22 letters plus the 5 end letters. So those would be the chav zayin. Kivon, so there will be the brachas will be in the most higher way, and also the 27 letters of the Torah. Kivan shekol inyonei ha-Torah mitzvahs you betachlis hashlemus, because all matters of Torah mitzvahs will be in total wholesomeness. Ki mitzvah siritzei necha, like the mitzvah, like you want the mitzvahs, that will be la'asid lavai. So the Torah is going to be on the highest levels as well. So Chav Zayin is going to be on a higher level. But Torah Chadosha Meiti Teitze. There's going to be a new Torah, time of Torah, she's Galil Osid Love B'Terasu Mashiach. Those are the reasons of Torah, which will be revealed in the future in the teachings of Mashiach. That's the higher level. Torah mitzvahs will come. Koil Gama Torah Chadosha, which includes also the new teaching, the Rabbi Seinu of our teachers, our leaders, the Maimorim, the Sikh, the teaching, Ad Lebal Yom HaLedes, until we talk about the one whose birthday Chof Marcheshon, Ubnoi Yechidei, and his only son, Memalam Mekoyim Ekvet Kedushas Merechov Ma'admur Nesidarenu, the Rebbe, my father-in-law, the Rebbe, the leader of our generation, Shekitzu Varan Nusheich Ne'ofa. They will get up and they will sing those who rest in the dust, V'heim Bereshom. And the Rebbe Rashab and the Friedrich Rebbe, they will be in the beginning, in the top. V'yomru Torah Chadosha, they will say new Torah, Chidush Kam L'Gabe HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This will be even a new, even L'Gabe HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Kaviyachol, so to speak. Al Derech Mamer Azal, Natzchuni Bani Natzchuni, that my children were victorious, which means that the Torah the Eibishter given Lamato, so it's a Chidush even Kaviyachol for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Ad le Torah Chadosha me'iti teitze, till the Torah will come from me, me'iti daika. Me'iti, which means from the highest level. In a way, they're not going to need to teach one another. Kikulam yedu oisi, because they'll know oisi me, oisi daka. Just like me'iti oisi, they'll know me. And the main thing is, and that's in addition, the main thing is, shakolza you take it from a yad mamish, should be immediately mamish.